Well, folks, this is going to be a ripper leading your best life because we're going to delve down right now into the depths of yoga with Andrea, my yoga teacher. She's not just my yoga teacher; she's very successful in Perth. And we're going to, Andrea. Look, let's just get on with it. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Leigh. I really appreciate it.
No, well, we want to share the magic and the wonders and the benefits of yoga with people today, knowing that I've been coming to you now for a month or so, and you've seen my tight shoulders, tight hamstrings. At times you see my face grimacing and you're saying, Leigh, soften the brow, all these things, all these, Leigh, your toe, ankle, she's very precise, very precise. So I know you've had a whole life of immersion in yoga, but look, before we get into that, I can tell there's an accent there. So let's talk about your journey from where the heck have you come from, and give me a summary of this journey so far, as much as you want to share.
Well, I was born in Austria, in the capital of Austria, in Vienna. And I came to Australia in the year 2000, and I'm here ever since.
Okay. So your childhood, you've told me some of these things about your childhood. So, we are products of our childhood. So give us a little bit about your childhood and how that may have influenced your introduction into yoga. Because when did you start yoga?
I started yoga in 1988.
Were you 10? Were you 3, 5?
I was 18.
18. Okay, so your life before 18, you told me a bit about the fact you were an athlete. Was your family a sporting family?
No, my family wasn't a sporting family at all. I just had it in me. I just had it in me, and I was destined for it up until a certain age. And
so you're talking about being a runner, gymnast, a tennis player. What were you doing?
I did athletics. I did a little bit of gymnastics, but it was mainly athletics I did.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then something happened.
Yes, I got very sick. I caught a virus, and it was leading me into getting paralyzations in my legs, and that lasted for quite some time. And it was only yoga that I've refined my healing of that. Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about that, because as we will delve down deeper, that the body is more than just the physical body. There's mind, there's emotion, there's energetics, there's lymphatic systems, there's sympathetic nervous systems. We're going to delve into this, but you, at a certain age, went through some trauma, which was not long after is when you got sick. So do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, when I was 6.5, I lost my mother from cancer, and that was very traumatic as a little girl, of course. And and I was brought up by my father and my grandmother, who I lost within 3 weeks when I was 22. After I lost my mother, about 4 years after that, I caught that virus I was talking about.
Yeah. So the body, we often say the body weeps the tears the eyes do not show, and of course at a young age. Anyway, let's not go into any psychotherapy here, but let's just talk about what was your introduction to yoga at age 18. How did you get involved in yoga, and what was your first impression?
Yeah, I was taken by, my first impression of yoga was when I was 14, when I heard just the word yoga, and it intrigued me in a very peculiar way, but I've never heard anything of it for another few years. And when I was 18, the father of my best friend, he was doing yoga, and I went with him, and he introduced me to his teacher, and I'm doing it ever since.
I know. So tell me about that first class. What happened in the first class, and how did you feel after the first class, and what got you thinking, I want to keep doing this?
Yeah, well, with the standing history at the time that I had these paralyzations, I have given up all sports, and I was a teenager as well, so it comes with many other challenges. Yeah, but having done that first class, in the class, it was like, yeah, it was like stretching, and it was easy because I've been naturally always flexible. And yeah, but when I walked out of the class and I walked back to the metro station, it was like, oh, wow, I've got a body. It was like I was a complete different person. This sitting in my body, in being at home in my body all of a sudden. And yeah, that was very significant for me. And yeah, I kept going back to it.
Did you feel, so are you saying before yoga, you lived in the body, but you didn't feel present in the body, or you weren't as aware of your body? What was going on beforehand, do you think?
I probably was quite disassociated from my body before that. But it pulled me right back into my body, and it was really good.
What makes someone, do you think, get disassociated from their body?
Or trauma, it's definitely trauma responses.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So where are they living? In their head, or what's going on for that person?
In the head, and cutting off all sensations coming from the body, whether it's emotions, feelings, or just simply body parts. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you were going to classes, and at what stage did you then decide, I'm going to become a teacher, or I'd like to become a teacher?
That was after my father passed away in 93. And consequently, I went to my teacher, asked her if she thinks I can teach. And she said, Andrea, I was just waiting for you to ask me that.
Wow.
Off you go and teach. That was it.
So what was the training involved in that? No, there was no training at that point.
There was no training, no. There was just sharing my experience.
Okay.
And what I've integrated into my body at that stage. Yeah.
Okay. So since then, have you trained with other masters, or done courses, or read books, or watched video? What's been your learning evolution to become, to gather more knowledge and to get better? What's been that journey?
The main aspects of my journey always was the practical part, was a practice. It was a regular practice. And my teachers were, my first two teachers was a man and a woman. Her name was Sieglinde Gerold, and his name is Dr. Karl Bayer, who also is a theologist and philosopher who teaches at the university in Vienna. And then I have branched out to some more into other European countries. I've connected with some teachers from Holland. They were all Iyengar yoga teachers, and with them I have proceeded then with an Iyengar yoga teachers training eventually. I have worked with BKS Iyengar himself in England and in Berlin. And I have worked with BNS Iyengar, who is a teacher from Mysore, who is teaching in the same lineage as BKS Iyengar, but a different style. It's Ashtanga Yoga. I have worked with Pattabhi Jois, who's been at the time the most famous teacher for Ashtanga Yoga. I've worked with within the Desikachar lineage for just a very short time. And my, since to this day, mentor and friend, and I call her sometimes my yoga mama, is Nikki Knopf, and she's 86. And in fact, she will be coming to Perth in November and will teach an intensive at her age, which is quite amazing. Yeah.
I can see straight away that's something you aspire to. I can see you at age 86 going, I want to be able to teach an intensive at age 86. Of course, that's good. That's good. Yeah. We become our teachers. We become our mentors.
And there's one more teacher I like to mention who was very important for me as well. that is Swami Alokananda, who has been sharing very generously some higher yogic or higher yoga practices with me, from pranayama to yoga nidra to meditation and karma yoga, bhakti yoga. Yeah, she was a very important part in my journey as well.
Fantastic. So let's talk about yoga, having established clearly your immersion in yoga at a whole range of levels with a whole lot of teachers. Let's talk about what is yoga. My understanding is the word means something like yoke or union, but give me your understanding of yoga and even, I suppose, the history of yoga, how it's evolved, where it's come from.
It's just to one after the other. What yoga is, it literally means union or to merge. And it is a system which helps to optimize one's spiritual evolution. It's an exploration of who we are or what we want to be. And it can ultimately lead to liberation of ourselves. Yeah. It offers tools for transformation, methods to accelerate this process of spiritual evolution.
Okay.
And
when you say spiritual evolution, let's just talk about what are we talking about? You're saying finding God, becoming a good Hindu or Christian, or how, because the word spiritual starts to either scare people off or they have a particular association with it. When you say spiritual evolution, what does that mean for you, and what does that mean in the context of yoga?
well, for me, it means to realize what the source of our being, of our existence is. And when I say our existence, I mean the existence of humankind. And yeah, it is, and I'm not referring to a Catholic God or to an Islam God or to an Hindu God. I'm referring to a divine source within us, and which we probably, if we open our eyes, can see everywhere around us. Yeah.
Divine source, energy. So in terms of the history of yoga, I mean, if I just say of course it goes way back to seeing people bending and twisting, but having listened and watched Sadhguru over the last few years, he's made the point, and of course his book on karma and his book on engineering, it's way more than just bending and twisting at the physical level, but in fact we're talking about the mental, the mind, we're talking about the emotional level, and we're talking about the energy level, which at one stage you spoke about. We spoke about life force, the life force energy. So could you want to talk about that in terms of yoga and more than just physical?
Well, you were just mentioning to talk about the history of yoga.
Yeah.
So when you say history of yoga, I can give you a little quick in a nutshell what the history of yoga is.
Yeah, sure.
Or if you want, I mean, this is for the
absolutely.
When you say understanding the history of yoga, the history of yoga goes back roughly 5,000 years back, and it points back to the Indus-Saraswati Valley civilization. And in that civilization at that time, there were people, it seems, that have practiced yoga already, because there were fossils and seals found which indicate that they have. It's an undocumented but acknowledged period because of these findings. Then there was the Vedic period after that. This is also where the word yoga first has been mentioned in a script which is called the Rig Vedas. And that script does describe rituals and mantras. Mantras are words which are repeated to aid in concentration and help intentions to manifest. It can also change the state of mind, and it can be chanted also melodically. Yeah. So this is what we find about yoga in the Vedic period. Then there is the pre-classical period, which goes it's about a period of over 2,000 years. Then there is the classical period, which offers quite influential scripts coming from India, such as the Bhagavad Gita. And for us, yoga is also quite important, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which I think we probably will talk a little bit later as well. Then there is a post-classical period and the modern period. And the modern period of yoga has brought about teachers like Krishnamacharya, BKS Iyengar, Patapi Joyce, Paramahansa Yogananda, you might heard of him, or Swami Vivekananda. When I mention Swami Vivekananda, the place where I'm teaching from is actually at the Vedanta Church, which is a mission in the lineage of Swami Vivekananda. Those teachers, they have quite strongly influenced the modern movement of yoga. Yeah.
And we've talked about life science, the science of life, life energy. And you know, again, I think of you use the word yogi, a yogi. A yogi, I imagine, well, these yogis sitting in caves thinking about the science of life and practicing breathing and Tell me about your understanding of these people that essentially went and spent years in caves studying the life of, I suppose, life science, not only life science in the external world, but life science and the inner world of thought, mind, breathing, inner chemistry. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, my understanding of these yogis or rishis, which appear to be the source of old yogic techniques, they must have just really stepped aside away from society, and they must have just stepped so deep into themselves that they had a very clear connection of what the truth about our existence is. And in that time, they have used surely mainly meditation, I believe. Breath practices, I don't know. I you know, it's past. You know, it's nothing I have experienced, as it's it's just what we all hear.
Yeah.
You know, about. Yeah.
Well, talking about experience, because you had your own physical experience of discovering your body and stretching. Let's just talk about just that. What happens in a yoga class, or what actually happens if a person goes on a journey of regular or even daily yoga exercises and yoga activity? At one stage you mentioned to me about fascia and alignment. Let's just talk about what happens there at the physical level, but then how that affects people at the mental or the psychological or even the emotional level. And maybe if you want to talk about some case studies of people who came to you in a particular state, whether it be anxious or they had an injury, and what yoga has done for some of the people in your class, you teaching them.
Okay, there are many questions you're asking me in one very long sentence.
Okay.
So can you pinpoint me one of those, please?
The benefits of yoga, what you've seen, the transformation that's gone on in people physically and more than physically. Okay,
well, benefits of yoga, let's just start with the benefits of asana practice. Asana is the physical aspect of yoga, where, you know, the body, it's not the breath aspect, it's the physical yoga postures aspect. And of course, it can increase flexibility, it can increase strength, it can help you to sleep better, it can decrease pain, it helps you to be more relaxed, and it stretches your fascia. And all these factors, they combat stress, which is the link to other problems such as mental illnesses. Yeah,
absolutely. So in doing that, let's just touch on some of these, because you just used the term there. You said asana. So let's just talk about, I didn't know this when we spoke about this a few days ago, this 8 limbs of yoga, and you've talked here, asana being postures, but maybe let's just, if you want to talk about these 8 limbs, because as you say, the asana is just one area of this 8 limbs or art of living or the science of living. So do you want to touch on this 8 limbs of yoga as to what
Yeah,
all this is
sure.
about?
Sure. The 8 limbs of yoga, there are, as it says, there are 8 limbs. They are yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. The yamas, they indicate or they suggest, and by the way, these 8 limbs of yoga are described in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which I have just earlier on mentioned in the history of yoga. Okay, so there's yamas and niyamas. The yamas, they describe social etiquette everyone should follow through with, rather whether this is a yoga practitioner or not. Then the niyamas, they are five attitudes one should follow.
Purity, contentment, austerity, self-study, surrender. So it becomes a guidebook for
But
life, isn't it?
the niyamas are more specific to people who practice yoga. Yeah. Then you've got asana. The asanas, the physical aspect, the physical postures. Then there's pranayama, which is the art of controlling the life force energy, which is, I find, a much more correct translation rather than say the art of breathing. Then there is pratyahara, the withdrawal of senses, and then 3 different stages of meditation, or 2 pre-stages for a blissful enlightenment experience, or samadhi. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your yoga practice,
Yeah.
is it called pranayama? Is that your yoga practice?
No, pranayama is pranayama means pranayama is the name of the art of controlling your life force energy, which is in the West also understood as breath practices. Yeah. Prana means life force.
Yes, yes.
Ayama means extension or broadening. And in relation to the breath, it can mean also suspension. So in Western terminology, it refers to the manipulation of breath, which means you're practicing a slow, deep breathing in order to balance your autonomic nervous system. Yeah, and that happens through stretch-induced signals of the abdominal muscles. Stretch-induced inhibitory signals of the abdominal muscles, but more specifically to the diaphragm. Yeah, but also to the even nerve endings in your nose.
Wow.
And
Okay.
there's a lot of studies you can actually find online about that. Done by universities and the medical field. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in pranayama, we structure our breath in 4 parts: a full inhalation, an inhalation retention, a full exhalation, and an exhalation retention. In Sanskrit terms, it would be puruka, the full inhale, antara kumpaka, the inhalation retention, then rechaka, which is the exhalation or full exhalation, and bahir kumpaka as the full exhalation retention. Yeah. And yeah.
Wow. And you can see, I've literally watched YouTube videos. I dug up somewhere where yogis did various breathing techniques that literally they practiced in the caves, in terms of what that then did, in terms of them. And it's not so much about what's it called, people, hyperventilation. It's not about that. It's about other things. Just amazing seeing them do that. But I can imagine guys sitting in a cave, practicing different breathing techniques, and going, wow, this is affecting me in different ways. I'm actually getting in touch with myself, let alone, as you say, and you've touched on in the past, one, the breathing and its impact by breathing through the nose, what it does to cortisol.
Yeah.
And then the other impact in regard to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So can I get you to do some explanation around, one, what happens when we breathe through our nose versus breathe through our mouth? And then what happens in regard to sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system?
Okay. When we are breathing through the nose, okay, so and this is through the nose, okay, so and this is what is the preferred way to breathe. When we are breathing through the nose, the air is being heated as it enters the nostrils. It's being heated, it's being pressurized, it's being filtered, and therefore properly conditioned for optimal oxygen intake or extraction in the lungs. So we can take up to 20% more oxygen in when we breathe through the nose. And mouth breathing, and mouth breathing doesn't offer that. So when we breathe through the mouth, considering what I have just explained, we would take less, so our lungs would get less oxygen or can extract less oxygen, which would subconsciously start to speed up our breath rhythm. Yeah, we breathe more breath cycles on a daily basis, which can lead to some maybe not strong hyperventilation, but to some chronic but hyperventilation. If you would think what would be my normal breath rhythm, yeah, so you would probably start hyperventilating in order to get that missing oxygen you haven't received because you were breathing through the mouth, yeah, and through that your cortisol levels would rise, because when we hyperventilate, we go into anxiety and stress responses.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
It is such a fascinating topic. Yeah.
Well, it's only in recent times I've discovered this, but I'm sure somewhere in there, these guys in caves had discovered this a lot earlier, as you say, thousands of years ago. And I think it's in terms of empowering people to lead their best lives. It's kind of, if we don't tell people about this, particularly in regard to yoga, because I know when you do classes, at the start of the class, we're doing breathing. You're talking about the breathing throughout the exercises and the stretching, and then the breathing that we do at the very end of the classes as well. It's all super important. In fact, do you want to talk a little bit about what happens at the beginning and the end of your classes in terms of that breathing?
Well, I have adapted the structure of my classes to the way our society lives their life. If you come in the evening, you mostly come from a busy day. So I get my clients or students, when they come to class, to really come back into themselves and center themselves, collect themselves. And I do use a breath foundation for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you call it chai breath. We have to,
no, I called it, this is actually, Ujjayi breath is part
Ujjayi. I keep thinking chai as in chai tea. No, it's Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi.
Ujjayi breath, yeah. And it's part of that breath foundation, that Ujjayi, yeah. And then I do some more heating yoga postures, and then starting to slow down with the kind of postures I teach. They are more relaxing postures towards the end of the class.
Yes.
In the beginning, more heating postures, and then more cooling down postures, until we reach that what everyone loves, Shavasana or corpse pose.
Correct. That's what we all look forward to.
It's correct. Everyone does. In fact, lots of people think the hardest part of a yoga class is coming out of that.
Yes, exactly. Because some people start snoring.
Yeah.
Wow. What I was doing as you were talking, coming back to these slides, I just dug up in terms of the breathing, mouth breathing, agitated mind, poor sleep, daytime fatigue, brain fog, lack of focus, poor concentration. Every day becomes a bit of a struggle. I've certainly had that, and because I had sleep apnea, so I had a sleep apnea machine, which when you wear the mask, I mean, you're still breathing through the mouth even then, even though it's the air, it keeps the airways open. Whereas the nose breathing, where I've since been doing some taping to breathe, calm mind, deeper sleep, get sleep more easily, wake up feeling fresh, clarity of mind, laser focus, good concentration, every day is inspiring. And then you make the point around cortisol, that one chemical, because again, I may have mentioned in the master's thesis, we brought out Professor Bertil Gardell from Sweden, where he had been taking urinary measurements of cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. So we start talking about sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Am I in fight and flight response or not? And cortisol in and around, do I feel in control of myself or perception of control or not? And invariably, the people who perceive their lives out of control, particularly people working boring jobs where they couldn't control the pace, they had higher levels of cortisol. And when you said to me the other day that nose breathing actually helps to lower cortisol levels, I thought, wow, that's just so important a piece of information. And therefore, why be far more conscious of breathing and the nasal breathing. Would you like to talk a little bit about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system in regard to yoga and what yoga does for that, knowing the two different systems?
Well, I like talking especially about the parasympathetic nervous system, because this is what we all like to have more dominant, unless we need to be, I don't know, for some reasons, very active, whether it's for sport or for some work-related, scenarios. But we always want to come back to have our parasympathetic nervous system more active. Now, the parasympathetic nervous system is that part of nervous system in our body which controls the brain, the heart, the digestive, so it carries signals to the brain, heart, and digestive system. And the function of, and not only that, also heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory system, mood regulation, mucus, saliva production, skin and muscle sensation, speech, voice, taste, and also the urine output. Yeah, so all also controls the rest and digest. And this is what our parasympathetic nervous system is doing. And the main nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system is the vagus nerve. And when we practice yoga, we actually can increase the vagal tone. Yeah, so we can increase the signaling of the parasympathetic nervous system. So what yoga does for the vagus nerve, it increases the vagal tone, which allows people to switch from anxiety to relaxation. And if you become a regular yoga practitioner, then you accumulate less stress in the body, and you increase resilience and you increase well-being. Yeah, and
Right.
there are certain I can just on the surface touch on some practices. One is Ujjayi breath, which we have briefly spoke already about it. Then there is another one, it's called Bhramari Pranayama, for example, which is really nicely triggering that relaxation response. Physical practices, cat-cow position. Everyone knows cat-cow position actually massages the areas where the vagus nerves branch into. The vagus nerve is branching into various, organs in the body. Forward bends can help to increase the vagal tone, as well as twist, shoulder stand, any chest openings.
So that makes sense as to why you do those exercises in the class. I'm just, as you're talking, again, looking at sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system and tone. I'm just looking. That makes complete sense now why you want to do. I'm just took a photo of this one here. All of these exercises are about opening up and activating that vagus nerve. Yeah.
Yep. very directly, like very directly.
So that then what we're doing is we're slowing the heart rate and we're slowing down all of those organs that become part of the fight or flight stress situation versus the sympathetic nervous system being the system we use when we need to get into fight or flight to defend ourselves, which really becomes in everyday life the stress response.
Yeah. But isn't that wonderful?
It's wonderful. Yeah. But again, it needs to be, as you say, a daily practice. Like you do the reps. If a person has a shower once a week, or cleans their teeth once a week, or only exercises once a week, that's not going to be anywhere near as important as daily. Now, just on that, I know you are a very disciplined
Can I just say
yogi.
something? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have come over time to that thought that when you practice yoga once a week, it can help maintaining your health. When you do yoga two, three times a week, it can improve your health. And if you do yoga more than that up to daily, it can change your life.
Yeah. Which you do, huh? You, like in my case, let's just talk about daily practices, because there are people know, like, one, I'm up at 5, 5:15, I meditate for 20 minutes. I did Vedic meditation. I then go to the beach. We swim between 2 and 6 and 8 and 10 kilometers, depending on the time of the year. And then now, since meeting you, I come to yoga at least once a week, and I'll also be doing Pilates once a week. So in other words, I have a daily practice. So it's not like I only exercise. My daily practice is my meditation daily, ideally in the morning and again at 4 in the afternoon. And then the swimming every day is my daily practice. And then the yoga, it supplements what I'm doing. But one way or another, people need to be doing things on a daily basis, I think, for the mind, the body, you know, whether it be spiritual evolution, but certainly life evolution. But let's just talk briefly about your daily practice, because I know you have a whole range of disciplines. Let's start with your yoga daily practice.
My yoga daily practice. Yeah, I do yoga every day. Yeah. So
any particular time?
I'm still flexible. It's still in the morning, but there's no set time. Is it 5 or is it 8 or is it's not, because I'm still taking someone to school in the morning.
Yes.
And I do like to have the feeling that I'm not putting someone else into trouble if I'm running late with my yoga practice. So I either do it early in the morning if it is not only my daughter but also other working commitments, and I go early in the morning, like between 5 or 6 I would start. Otherwise I would start probably after school drop off around 8:30 in the morning. And it lasts me, it's about 1.5 hours, 1 to 1.5 hours every day. Yeah, I do other practices as well, but this is my yoga practice, 1.5 hours. Yeah.
Fantastic. And of course, then in the classes, you're stretching and doing things as well. It's not like you're I know, but it's not as intense. Yeah. So let's talk then about case studies. Some people who've come, and again, you don't use their names or anything, but the before and afters, when people have come to you, give me some of your success stories that make you go, that makes me feel proud of the journey that I've helped that person go on.
So there is a client I have since a long time, since 11 years, privately, weekly, to the point of when the client goes on holidays, it's being organized in such a way that that day is being as less as possible missed of our session. And when we started, that person had quite, and this is a genetic family history, quite very tight inner rotation, or the inner rotator muscles are very tight. And there was also a spinal injury of the facet joints, and intervertebral discs also have been they were degenerated, or they were
Compressed.
compressed. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that person had the goal within to learn lotus position, and lotus position is where you have your legs
Yes.
with the feet up, you know.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
And that was a really big goal of the person, but it took us, and I say us, because it was a really wonderful teamwork, 2 years to get that person there.
Wow.
Yeah. And no one would have thought it is possible. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is, and also not only that, the spine has also has reversed. In between the discs, there was the discs between the vertebrae have regained thickness again. Yeah.
Wow.
This is quite significant. And the person being in her 50s, 60s.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm just going to show a picture of full
Yeah.
lotus position is just amazing.
Yes.
So they've gone from being super tight in and around the hips and the adductors to literally being able to get their feet in that position and knees. That's incredible.
It's so wonderful. This is one thing that makes me really, really happy. That made me, not just me, the other person as well, but it made me very happy.
Well, let's talk about that link between they get to this position as in their fascia and flexibility, but what does that do in terms of then their mental state, their view of themselves, their life energy, their life force?
Of course, I mean, if you achieve something like that, I mean, what would it do to you? You get very confident, you get satisfied, you get optimistic of more achievements, you know, into the future.
If I can do this, what else can I do? Yeah.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
And apart from that, this pose is offering a very steady sitting foundation for meditation. This is probably the best position you could do if you want to meditate.
So
It
in
brings
terms of
stability to the spine. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And in terms of vagus nerve, in terms of parasympathetic nervous system, it's really slowing the system down.
Now that pose only offers a very stable foundation for practices to do all that what you just mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And so having done this, mind and breath we've spoken about, but let's just go a couple of steps further around food, alcohol, drugs, and yoga. I know you're very disciplined in regard to your food. Tell me your daily food habit, not necessarily what you eat, although meat, when I say, do you eat meat? Your response is?
I don't eat meat.
For the reason being, you don't eat meat because you don't like animals dying, or you don't the health of impact, or both, or what are the reasons you don't eat meat?
I stopped eating meat when I was probably around 21.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being was at the time, and I have been doing yoga then already, I have noticed when I don't eat meat, my body feels lighter, smelled better, and having a lighter mind, a lighter body also gave me a lighter mind. It just felt more right for me.
Mm-hmm. What about alcohol? When I mention the word alcohol, what is that? What's the thought that comes to your mind there?
I don't drink alcohol. I don't like alcohol. It's hard to live in a society where alcohol is very
Preponderant.
Yeah. But I mean, how many studies can you find? It's just simply not healthy.
Yeah.
And my mission in my life is to live healthy, to be healthy, and to help other people to be healthy.
Yeah.
Why would I intoxicate my body with alcohol?
And that's the word, intoxicate, the toxicity factor. Yeah.
So now I find yoga a much better drug than any other drugs out there.
Oh, there's a t-shirt. I love that. I find yoga a much better drug. I like that. I like that. So let's go to your business, because we've got two different businesses that you have. You've got the yoga business, and there's your Facebook page, and here it is, Prana Yoga Perth. And I particularly like this piece you put up 3 days ago. Don't practice yoga to get better at yoga. Practice yoga to get better at living. Do you elaborate on that? Why you like that quote?
When you practice yoga in order to get better at yoga, what do you really achieve? May I ask you?
What do you really achieve?
You practice yoga in order to get better at yoga. To get that leg better behind the head, or to make this look better, or be more flexible in this. And I mean, what you're doing, you're competing with yourself. When we're in competition with ourselves, or maybe with even someone else, what is the state of mind of that? Yeah. It's definitely not self-contentment, is it?
In other words, I'm only going to be content if I beat myself or beat the other person.
We like to practice yoga to be content, to be better, to just live a better life, to have a little less pain, to have a happy mind, a healthy body, and to be full of, or to be filled up to give to others.
Yes, the life force, the life energy.
It is for me the most important. If you want to uplift yourself, uplift someone else.
Oh, yes. If you want to uplift yourself, uplift somebody else.
Absolutely.
Shine your light to help others shine their light. Beautiful. And on the other business is this one here, the Bowen Therapy. Tell me about Bowen Therapy.
Oh, I really, really like that. I have been suggested to become a Bowen therapist by a very dear friend of mine who's a sports scientist. And he said, Andrea, you should become a Bowen therapist. And at the time it was like, why should I do that? But then I have been confronted with life circumstances where I needed another leg to stand on. And I remembered him saying that to me, and I've walked out, found a training, and it was luckily here in Perth, and was sitting in a training, not knowing what I'm just about to learn. And I have fallen in love with that. It looks like a massage technique, but it's not a massage technique at all. It is a method with hands-on techniques of the practitioner to balance the nervous system, to bring the body into parasympathetic response whilst the client is lying on a table, and then target with procedures problems, sciatic problems, anxiety, fluid retentions, injuries, pain, headaches, dental procedures done which has impact on the jaw, anything really I can target then, but it balances primarily the nervous system. And through the target methods I am also using, I innate the body, I stimulate the body's own inner healer to fix where things need to be fixed. And it's not me, I only facilitate the process. It's quite a fascinating system.
Well, the fact is here, 8 signs you might want to try Bowen Therapy. 1, you feel stressed. 2, you're in pain. 3, you have an injury. 4, your muscles are sore. 5, you're not sleeping well. 6, you get regular headaches. 7, you have digestive issues. 8, you feel run down. I literally am thinking of a neighbour that lives literally across the road from us. It tells me about all of those situations. So I'm going to refer her to you straight away because she ticks the boxes on at least 3 or 4 of those items. And then I think there was a fellow at our Blokes Talk Beachside meeting the other night who I think I'll refer to you as well, who I think it's certainly worth him coming to you and seeing what Bowen Therapy might be able to do for him. So I think that's fantastic. And as I say, you find again, you find that this makes a big difference in terms of before and after with people. Can you give me an example of the before and after?
You know, it's really hard to say. You know, some people respond very well, like very, very well. And for some people, it takes more sessions, and some people seem to not respond at all. Or if they do respond, it would take longer time to find where the problem is. As a Bowen therapist, I try to peel a human body like an onion.
Oh, really?
Try to find where's the actual issue, what is the actual issue, and it can be a longer or a shorter journey. It depends on the person. You know, it's like someone who has like chronic pain. I mean, how long did it take to get this chronic pain? It cannot be expected to get rid of it straight away. Saying that, I did have clients where they had straight away an almost 100% recovery from pain straight away after session. But then again, I had also people that haven't, it took more, or they needed something else than Bowen therapy. Yeah, yeah, but it's a wonderful technique. And if ever you like to come to a Bowen session, what it will always do is it will always balance your nervous system. It will always get you into parasympathetic. It will always fight your stress levels or lower your stress levels. And I can almost guarantee that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can see here.
Almost, because we never really can guarantee anything, but
sure. But you can see this particular post, mental health is physical too. Headaches, feeling like you're going to be sick, heart palpitations, upset stomach, sweating, shaking, dizziness, restless. So much of that is the sympathetic nervous system that then needs some parasympathetic vagus nerve bringing it down, doesn't it? Amazing. So that's fantastic. Now, let me just go to a couple of other questions. In terms of, I think we've touched on the business being called what it is called in terms of prana yoga. Maybe just touch on that again. When you say prana yoga, what does that actually mean?
Well, when I settled into the Vedanta church to have my own little yoga classes running, I needed a name, and I have been the co-founder of a yoga school in Vienna. That school was founded in 1994, I think. And we called it was me and 3 other teachers, we called it Prana Institute for Yoga and Psychotherapy at the time. And I gave away my share then when I came to Australia. And when I opened my own place here in Australia, I thought I'd just use that name again.
Good idea. Good idea. I like this. The nature of yoga is to shine the light of awareness into the darkest corners of the body. Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? I think a yoga practice is like switching on your inner torch, and then you look for all the dark corners, and then you clean out all the spider webs in these dark corners, and at the end of the class you're just purified again. How about that? You like that?
I like that. It's very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, again, coming back to the shining of the light, shining of the light, shining of the light, the physical light, the mental light, the emotional light, the energetic light, the light to the, as you say, the life force, the life force. So let me ask you then, what motivates you, Andrea? What motivates you talking about light shining? Why? What motivates you and why?
When I was in my early 20s, I wanted to change the world. Haven't many of us wanted that at that age. But I think I never really stopped wanting that. But I came to realize what my part can be. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you get people to your classes and they do yoga or Bowen Therapy or both, you are changing the world one person at a time.
Right.
You're changing their inner world, even if it's for an hour. But of course, we know it creates the ripple effects beyond the hour or so of the class.
Yeah.
What motivates you and why? So let's talk about the future, your future. That where are you heading? What's your life by design for Andrea Yoga?
My life by design for Andrea. I like to keep running my yoga classes as they are. At this stage, I don't see any need to change that. I'm content to share in these 4 to 5 classes a week what I have to share, what I can share. Otherwise, I like to probably build my Bowen clinic more, get more clients, more regular clients, and yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, all right, and stay, of course, stay healthy and keep evolving the way you are, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Talking of that, if we are what we eat, we take great care of what we feed our brain. So I always like asking, what are some of the books you're reading, or that you've read, or books that you recommend to people who want to continue their journey in terms of spiritual or life force evolution?
Well, I think I mentioned one book to you. It's called Breath from James Nestor. That
Yes.
book had quite an impact on me, and to understand the breath with a Western mind.
Yes.
I have read, of course, pranayama books, and I learned with an Eastern approach about the breath. There's probably, if you want to embark on the journey of yoga, there's a book, but it's very comprehensive what yoga can give you and how it integrates in one's life. And it's called The Tree of Yoga.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look
And
that up.
it is by BKS Iyengar.
The Tree of Yoga. I'm going to find that, and I'm going to put it up in just a second when I find it.
I would consider that easy literature. Lots of yoga books, they can be quite heavy philosophy.
BKS Iyengar. Yeah.
Tree of Yoga.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to put that up and show people, so that we can show people that book. Okay. So let me put that up so that we can show people, because again, if we are what we eat, it's good to point people in the right direction of book. So there's The Tree of Yoga. And the other book you recommended was Breath by James Nestor.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And you put me onto, what was that book about, the diamond cutter?
Diamond Cutter, yes. I got this book. I probably bought the book 25 years ago. It's the story of a Buddhist monk.
Yes.
Got sent away by his master to go to America and go into the diamond industry, just become a businessman, basically. And he took that business based on Buddhist principle into an enormous success, financial success.
Very good, very good. I got both the audio book and the written version of that since you told me to get it. It's such a great book. So I'm going to bring that up and share the screen so people can see that as well. And people, of course, are very big these days on Audible as well as a way of getting books. But there's 3 books straight away, folks, to get hold of to help you with your knowledge evolution. But again, there's a book. It's like saying, I've read a book about having a shower, but you actually have to have the shower. I read a book about learning to swim, but I actually have to get in the water. And the same being in terms of yoga. I've read a book on yoga. No, you actually have to do the classes, do the exercise.
And with yoga in particular, you can read many yoga books, but you really start to only comprehend what you read when you have put it into practice. Otherwise, you will never comprehend it.
That's right. That's right. And we learn with our bodies. And talking of learning with our bodies, one point we haven't touched on as yet is, which I would like to touch on now, are the 5 yoga bodies that we talked about. It's not just physical but mental. But you want to just talk about what are these all about?
Well, there's some aspects in yoga philosophy or yoga science, where it's teaching us the presence of 5 sheaths or layers of an individual. So we have, according to yoga science, we have 5 sheaths or layers, and which go beyond the physical body. There's first the Annamaya Kosha, which represents the physical body. It's also the most understandable aspect of us. There is from there the Pranamaya Kosha, or the vital energy body or layer. How would you be able to tell about it in yourself? The experience of waves rippling through the body, or a feeling of expansion when you do a meditation. That is the presence of Pranamaya Kosha. Then you've got Manomaya Kosha, or the mental body, which is represented by what we think, what we imagine, what we daydream. And at that layer, this is also where we make affirmations, where we practice affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then there's Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the wisdom body, or the layer of the layer where we get that sense of inner knowing, and it is composed through intuition, intuitive awareness. Yeah, it's like when we're having an insight that comes Vijnanamaya Kosha. And then there is the last one, the Anandamaya Kosha, or the bliss body, which is also the most hidden or the most subtle layer, where we can get, where we, when we are blissful, or where we get the sense that life is worth living, or to be alive is good.
It's great to be alive. It's great to be alive. Yes.
That comes from the Anandamaya Kosha. And we can develop that particular layer with practicing mantras, or even kirtan practice or meditation. Yeah.
Well, interesting enough, my meditation teacher, we were talking about having done meditation, and we talked about, I said, all of a sudden, there was times I'm walking with my grandson, and I said, look at that beautiful flower. It seems so much pinker than the others. And then driving around the river one morning, heading into the city, and the river looked just so beautiful. And he said, the thing about meditation is you do start to see the beauty in the world and other people way more. coming from that position, as distinct from that position of being wound up, busy, frantic, fight or flight, bringing that sympathetic nervous system down. And even the other morning, the sunrise was just incredible. I can't remember, it was Monday or Tuesday. The sky was so pink. It's like, wow. Or even this morning swimming, the conditions were beautiful, light easterly breeze. It's like, wow, this is just so beautiful. It's great to be alive, beautiful feeling. Seeing beauty in people, beauty in things around you, which again, as I say, when you're stressed out of your head, you don't see much of that at all. Would you like to make a comment on that?
Well, I think you've covered it all, haven't you? It's beautiful.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
very, very good. So let us move into the home straight. Is there anything we haven't covered? I want to get into Namaste and the light and love, but is there anything else you'd like to cover before we move into that home straight?
I think we covered everything what we were talking about previously. Yeah, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, you and I have had this conversation before, because I asked you when, the whole Namaste, what the hell is all that about? Because my client up in Thailand said, we in the West were shaking of hands, but in terms of germs and contamination, this is healthier in terms of not catching something from the other person. But beyond that, when we do Namaste at the end of a class, when we say Namaste to a person, tell me your understanding, and what does it mean for you? What is it?
What has resonated the most with me was an explanation of my teacher Nikki Knopf, which I have mentioned earlier, who is coming to Perth. She has handed out for some time a sheet, or she and her partner, explaining it with, I honor the place within you in which the entire universe dwells.
Wow.
I honor the place within you which is of love, of truth, of light, and of peace. And when you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we are one.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's a beautiful sheet. That's a beautiful sheet. And not only that, the intention just in using those words, and of course I've used those words to you since then, when I'm coming from my place of light and love, just in saying that, the transference of the energy that comes with those words, it's way more than just a set of words of hello, goodbye, sayonara. It's something way deeper than that. There is a real transference. And in fact, I've heard someone else say once, when you speak from the heart listens, the heart hears. So I think it's a beautiful intention and a beautiful transference. So Andrea, I will see you in yoga class tonight, this Wednesday night. But I'd like to say thank you so much for your sharing. Thank you for the light and love that you've shared today, and namaste.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, Leigh, and I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow night. Thank you.
See you then. Bye.